Bon après-midi, everybody, especially my family. I have Gloria, Uncle Dave, Hannah, and Annette maybe, and Charlotte. I see, so far that's who I see that's on there from my family and friends and former students. So welcome everybody. Today I'm going to tell a story about my great-grandmother. She's Rosalie Lepine, and I have to thank my mother for telling us these stories. My mom was not well. She had tuberculosis when she was young, and she had health issues through most of her life. And so she would sit us down, or she'd be laying on the bed, and we'd lay on the bed with her, or we'd be sitting around the table or wherever, and she'd tell us different stories. And so this is a story that I remember from my childhood. It's not exactly how I'm going to tell you today, because since my mother passed away quite a long time ago, I was 30 years old when she passed away, so it's quite a long time ago. I kind of remember some of the things she said, but also I've spoken to other people who also know this story, and I've also read different pieces, and I've also attended Our Lady of Lourdes Shrine in Saint Laurent, read different things. So this story is kind of a combination originating from my mother, and now I've kind of made it my own. So this is the story about Rosalie Lepine. She was my great-grandmother. She was married to Godfrey Lagimodiere first, and she had one son, Jean-Baptiste Lagimodiere, but he passed away, and so she was a widower. My great-grandfather was Charles Nolan, or Charles Nolan. He also was a widower when his first wife, who was a first cousin to Louis Riel, she died suddenly after the birth of her last child. I think it was her 10th child, maybe. And so he was a widower with many children. And at that time, men often looked for another wife when they had so many children, when they were widowed. So he met up with Rosalie Lepine with her one child, and he adopted that child. So now they have 11. And then they proceeded to move from Red River, and they spent a couple winters in Foul Hills, and then they moved to Saint Laurent, which is just across the river from Batoche. And so Charles Nolan was totally, his life was totally interwoven with Louis Riel. And Louis Riel actually stayed at his house in Saint Laurent when he returned in 1885 for the resistance. So Rosalie was the wife of Charles Nolan, and she when they moved from Red River to Saint Laurent area, she was very ill. She had blurred vision, she had chest pains, insomnia, head pain, and she was spitting blood. And so she had these ailments for quite a number of years. She continued to have children. She had Sandy, and then she had, his name was also Charles, and then she had my grandfather, our grandfather, Gabriel. And, but she got sicker and sicker and sicker, and her husband, Charles, he tried very, very hard to find somebody that could help her. So local medicines didn't work. And so then he took her to PA, to a doctor, and the doctor couldn't help her. And then she went back home, and he said pretty much she's just going to go back home to die. But Charles didn't believe that. So he took her to Battleford. There was a doctor in Battleford. So if you can imagine the trail from North Battleford or Battleford area to Saint Laurent area, so it'd probably be the Carleton Trail, or even from Saint Laurent to PA, it's not a short journey. Anyway, so he took his wife and presented her to the doctors, but the doctors could not help her. Anyway, when they got back home, he didn't really know what to do, but they were very close to the church. And so Brother Piquet he was called to administer the last rites to Rosalie, but Charles really wanted Brother Paquette to not just say a prayer and give the last rites, but he wanted Brother Paquette to like pray and pray to Jesus and Virgin Mary to save his wife. And he promised Brother Paquette that if she came out of this, that he would help the church and that he would erect a statue, because they had been wanting to put a statue of our Virgin Mary or Our Lady of Lourdes in that spot at Saint Laurent. And so he promised that. So Brother Paquette ordered holy water from Lourdes, France, and I have no idea how it got to Saint Laurent, but probably through Montreal and through the Catholic Church, and it finally arrived. And by this time, she was bedridden and really no hope for of her to live. But according to Catholic doctrine, it's important for innocent hands to lay the holy water on her body. So who is better to take the holy water than innocent children? So she had 2 young children under the age of 3, and they took the holy water and they applied it to their mother's body. And from that moment on, she slowly got better, and which is quite amazing. And so if you ever go to Saint Laurent, you can see the grotto. So if Susan will go back to the first picture, I'll just speak of the pictures. This is a picture of our grandmother. Her name is Eliza Delorme. She married Gabriel Nolan, who's the young guy there. And so Gabriel, that's the little boy, or that's the man that was a little boy when he applied the holy water to his mother. And so he is my mother's father, and that's my mother's mother. We can go to the second slide. So Rosalie is the woman in the picture. She's the miraculous cure, and that is her husband, Charles Nolan. She was a Lepine before she married. Her uncles were Maxime Lepine, who have a lot of descendants in the Duck Lake and St. Louis area. And her father was Jean-Baptiste Lepine. And if we go to the last slide, that's the little grotto that Charles promised Brother Paquette, if she survived, that he would erect. And so he purchased this Our Lady of Lourdes statue, and they put this little grotto on the path down to the large grotto. So if you go to this day, there's a beautiful little wrought iron fence around it. People go and place rosaries and flowers around this little statue, because in memory of Rosalie Lepine, but also to get help for themselves. And so that's the story of how Rosalie Lepine overcame an illness and became a miraculous cure. She was the first miracle that happened in that spot, and since then there's been others, and that's why to this day they still hold pilgrimages at Saint Laurent. And it has become quite a holy place. It's even though I'm not a practicing Catholic, every time that I go there, I feel something. I don't know what it is that I feel, but I really enjoy going to that spot. It's a beautiful, beautiful spot right along the river. There's a cemetery on the hill. And if you just walk around the grounds, it's really, really a lovely, lovely spot. So maybe this can go on your bucket list if you've never been to Saint Laurent. You can take a little ferry ride from Batoche across on the Saint Laurent ferry, and it's just a very short little jaunt turning on the right hand side when you get off the ferry. up to the grotto. There's a log church there as well, and kind of a little interpretive museum there. So this story is in honor of Rosalie Lepine. She actually lived to be a ripe old age, and she's buried at Onion Lake. So thank you for listening, Marcy, and thank you, Nora, for starting us off in a good way.